obviously there's lots that goes on with the Goanna project. So this is hopefully a nice informal way that we can improve comms, keep everyone up to date with what's happening. And also an opportunity for people to provide feedback as well. So what we're going to do today is I'm probably going to talk, hopefully not for too long. I'm going to try and keep it brief. I have made some notes and kind of give you a rundown what's happening and basically kind of like look at it as a short-term roadmap, like stuff that we can expect over the next kind of few weeks and months. And then from there, once we've kind of got all that out of the way, we're going to open up the floor, invite people up. If you've got questions, if there's stuff you want to talk about and bring up, let's do it. I am on a bit of a schedule this morning, so I am going to have to wrap things up kind of on the hour. So we've got about an hour to do it. So going to keep it pretty quick. We've also got Mars here from the Pollenize team. He'll be coming up in a little while to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the Goannas and the Pollenize mission that's just gone live about an hour ago. All right, so let's dive in. To give you a summary, so let's just go straight into it. Okay, so first thing is a tree fund donation has gone out to the Goanna Tree Fund. As part of our pre-drop pledge, we said that we were going to contribute 25% of the primary sales to the Goanna Tree Fund. Obviously, it's something I'm super passionate about, and it's awesome to be able to have just made the single largest donation to the Tree Fund, potentially one of the largest charity donations ever seen on Algorand. It's valued at something like 198,000 algos, so it is pretty significant. I'm a big believer that NFTs can be a force for good and really used to drive real-world impacts. And I'm confident that we're going to see the Tree Fund go on to plant over 1 million trees. Currently, the fund operates with literally no overheads. It's completely volunteer run, and everything that is generated through the fund is used to maximise the impact. There will be a full press release going out probably later today, my time, so it might be tomorrow for some of you, depending where you are in the world. But that'll have all the details on that. The next thing I was going to mention is, and I'm going to grab Mars, see if I can invite you to come up, invite to speak, is the Goanna series. So while we're waiting for, let's see, invite to speak, see if Mars got his invitation or if he wants to request. So for those who don't know, Pollenize is a kind of gamified innovate to earn platform. We've run a few missions here through Pollenize. We were really fortunate that the Goannas got to partake and be the very first mission on the platform. And as part of this continued partnership, there is a collection of 250 3D poly Goannas that is going to be released in approximately a week's time. So Mars has jumped up. Mars, if you want to jump in, maybe give everyone a little bit of a rundown on how the collection is going to work, what the utility is, and also how we're structuring the release in terms of like the gold list and the white list, because it is very much targeted to be something for Goanna holders.
Morning, crew. Morning, Benji. Always good to hear your voice. Thanks for having me up. It's been awesome. Thanks for all the love to all the Goanna fam who have come into the Pollenize Academy on our Discord server to give us a bit of love. As you said, the gold list mission started about an hour ago. So basically what we did, we launched for those who didn't see it, we launched our first Poly Goanna. It was snuck in there as a bit of an Easter egg with the last V2 drop. Someone pulled that, and that kicked off the Poly Goanna series. As you mentioned, there's a collection of 250. 25 of those are being reserved for the team treasury. So the Poly Goanna team will have its own treasury. Also, 10% of the sales of the Poly Goannas will go into the treasury. And basically what we're trying to do, especially with this gold list mission, is first of all, the top 25 players in this gold list mission will be guaranteed a mint. And we decided to run this mission. It was actually Benji's idea, which was a great idea. And the purpose behind it was to make sure that we have some of the best pollinizers in the Goanna team. So what we want to do is create a team of Goanna of polygoannas. Where in the future we're releasing other teams. Some of them will be other Algorand collection NFT collections as well that we're partnering with. And we're basically starting our Web3 Innovation League. So what you'll see in the future is games come up, missions come up with awesome prize pools, which would be kind of like Goannas versus another team. And then eventually when we open up, we've got potential partnerships on the horizon with some Solana collections as well. Then we'll do some cross-chain battles as well and have the Algorand teams versus the Solana teams. And that'll be super fun to get some cross-chain battles happening as well. So in terms of future utility, you'll have access to all those specific team-based missions in the Web3 League. And they'll be coming up shortly, and a whole bunch of fun stuff that we're preparing for the team.
Very cool. Thank you, Mars. And I think the other thing maybe I'd like to touch on briefly is that there's going to be a number of the polygoannas are going to be held back. So we'll be able to put people in and they'll be able to come and play on behalf of the team. And also that we're having some of the, we're setting up a treasury as well. So when we get to having these paid, these missions on Pollinize that have a big prize pool, there will be entry fees, etc., associated. And as part of the Goanna team, we're going to have a treasury which will actually cover your entry costs to play in that mission for the top players as well. So I think that's super exciting. Is there anything else you want to add on that, Mars?
Yeah, just also like we mentioned, the gold list mission is on now, so you can check that out. I believe Benji just posted a link in your Discord. That's just started, so just a brief overview of that. There's that mission goes for about 72 hours. There's a 12-hour create phase, so you can go in and create your best idea. The mission challenge is to pitch an idea for the for a potential future mutant versus zombie battle that we could run to engage the V2 holders. The idea there being, Benji wants to see some awesome ideas from the community about, how we really can get this rivalry between the mutants versus zombies. And I'm a bit on the fence. I've got 2 mutants and 2 zombies, so I'm not sure who I'm going for who I'm joining at this stage. But yeah, loving the art, loving the community at this stage. So thanks, Benji.
And the mission, that's for people who signed up last week to the whitelist. Is that right? They're the ones who are able to play in this gold list mission today?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So yeah, if you signed up to that whitelist, make sure you take part in the mission, and you can guarantee yourself a mint. I think that whitelist was looking like it's oversubscribed, so being on that doesn't necessarily guarantee you a chance to mint, but you've got pretty good odds, right?
Yeah, the odds are actually pretty good. I think we're only at 340. The whitelist closed yesterday, so yeah, the odds are good.
Awesome. And then we'll be releasing details and timings on the drop later this week. But we're looking at Sunday, October the 2nd.
Yeah, essentially this time next week. Will be the drop time, but we'll have exact timings as we get all those details locked in this week.
Awesome. Alrighty. Thanks, Mars. I want to keep it moving because we've got quite a bit I want to try and get through today, but really appreciate you taking the time and jumping up here.
Thanks, Benji.
And yeah, be looking forward to seeing what happens with the mission. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Cool. So yeah, super excited about everything that's happening there. I think Pollinize is this incredible platform. Anyone who took part in the early games, it's a really unique concept, and I think it's just exciting for us to be a part of it. So big thanks to Mars and the team there. The next thing I was going to talk about is the Goanna DAO. As some of you may know, we pledged to give 25% of the primary sales to the Tree Fund. We've also pledged that we're going to support kind of the seeding of the DAO treasury. So that means that we've got set aside 198,000 algos. And this will provide the seed for, the Goanna Treasury. Our intention is this becomes kind of the most well-funded community DAO on Algorand. And we can use this to empower our community of holders to drive innovation within the ecosystem and also provide some, fun and unique holder benefits to the Goanna community as well. For those of you who are new to the community, I'd recommend that you start by jumping into the Discord, and there's a doc on there. Let me see if the easiest way to find it, but we can make sure it's pinned and nice and visible. But there's a Google doc that we put together a number of months ago called The Road to Decentralization. And that kind of outlines our goals and how we see the Goanna DAO working. So really excited to get the community involved in that. I think one of the first things that we want to look to do in the short term, as we kind of establish this DAO, is we want to form a Goanna council. So the council is basically going to help us lay the foundations for the DAO and play a key role in the future direction of the project. So what I'm thinking is, to start with, I propose that the council is going to be made up of 8 to 10 members. I think it makes sense that certainly the majority of the members who sit on the Goanna council are kind of longer term V1 holders. They're people who they put time and energy into the community already, and they've kind of built that trust. I'm definitely open to having like 1 or 2 of the spots available for some new members who come in through the recent MVZ drop. And as we kind of move forward, the members of the council will also be the signatories on the DAO multi-sig wallet. As part of this, we are going to ask that all council members will be they're going to have to go through like a private KYC process and be doxed. Obviously, we're not dealing with like a small amount of change here, so it is important that we take these steps and make sure things are doing properly. In addition to the council, we are going to be looking to establish paid roles as well for the DAO, different, and that's going to be kind of community led. I think it's probably fair that councillors will be able to apply for roles, but we want to make sure there's no conflict of interest there. So all of this, I think, needs to be fully transparent and something that's voted for by the community. So if any of you have an interest in taking an active role in the project and putting your hand up to jump on to be on the council, I think the easiest way to do things for now is we'll open a thread for expressions of interest, gauge kind of how many people want to be a part and kind of sit on the Goanna council. And we'll put a bit more information there about kind of how long we see the sort of like the first term for council members being. And then once we've got everyone's interest on there, like we can put that to a community vote. And I think for this one, it makes sense that we'll have the long-term V1 holders take part in that vote. Once we've got the council established, we'll be looking to hold regular meetings. I think, a big part of what I want to do moving forward is really improve the communication between what I'm doing, like behind the scenes with the project, and the community. So, I mean, today's Twitter space is a big part of that. So I'm looking for the Twitter space to happen kind of, I think initially I'm going to try and do it this time every week. And we'll see how we go. Hopefully I don't run out of things to talk about in a month's time. But I think it could be a really positive for the community. And likewise with the Goanna Council, I'll be meeting with them regularly, and they can act as a bridge as well between the community and myself. And it's just going to be a really valuable thing. One, for me to be able to bounce ideas off them and get feedback from them, and also, if there's concerns within the community that you want to voice to. And for me on the project side to hear, then that's going to be another way. So it's going to be this two-way dialogue. And I'm really excited for that. What else have I got here? I'm kind of jumping back and forth. But yeah, like the weekly Twitter space, touched on that. Other things that we'd like to do in the short term, you can expect an updated merch store to go live, hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're looking to kind of really step up our game on that front. We've got some exciting ideas in terms of, like different capsule collections, having some of the merch relate more directly back to the NFT series itself. I don't know about you, but there's a few items within the collection that I think would actually make some really cool in real life merch, and we're going to be having some fun exploring that. And then obviously, like the big thing is going to be this mutant versus zombie battle series that we're going to be doing. So for this, we've allocated 50,000 algos from the drop. This is set aside, and this is going to be the prize fund that we're going to use as rewards for these battles. Initially, like my thinking has been like this is going to be kind of like team focused, and it's not going to be like one individual is going to walk away with like 50,000 algos. We want these battles to provide like a fun and engaging kind of community social aspect to the project. I'm very conscious that perhaps over like the last 6 months, like the focus has kind of been more around like investment DAOs and that kind of thing. And I guess shit's got like quite serious. And like NFTs are meant to be fun. We've seen like a lot of other projects. It's, there's a lot of really cool community stuff happening around like whether it's like sports betting or fantasy football and these type of things. And I think it's important that the Goanna project has some kind of fun and engaging community stuff going on as well. It's not all just kind of like serious and boring. So that's kind of the goal for the battles there. The way we'd like to do it is to have this prize purse kind of basically fund the battles for probably somewhere between like around like 3 to 6 months. So we'd be looking at about 10,000 algos per month in prizes. It will vary. So there'll be kind of more low value prize pools, and then there'll be some where it's bigger. Some weeks it'll be things like the winning side, whether it's the mutants or the zombies. They'll then be able to use their allocated funds. And as part of the mission brief for each battle, it may say, right, this week the prize is 2,000 algos. You've got to go and sweep the zombie floor, and those will then be used for giveaways for your holders for that week. Other times it might be the winning player takes all, and it's the side that gets the bragging rights. So we're going to have lots of fun working through these battles. We're definitely open to community ideas and feedback around how these are structured. As we touched on earlier, the current mission that we've got running with Pollenize is around this. The mission brief is basically getting people to come up with some cool ideas and different things that they'd like to see. For me, I think it's, in terms of like what the actual kind of battle is, I think it's going to be really fun to mix up kind of some in real life stuff, some online stuff. So it could be anything from, simple Twitter raids through to, we could do a health focused week, and it's like which team can log the most number of steps. And so just kind of bringing all different types of things together. It could be, we could have a video game challenge week, like which team can get the highest score, all these type of things. So again, totally open to feedback on this from the community. And yeah, then looking forward to seeing what we can do there. So that's kind of everything I wanted to touch on today. We are going to put all the notes from what I've just basically rambled through will go out in the newsletter. So Roosh, one of our Discord admins, he's been putting out a Goanna DAO newsletter regularly. I think we were on like 4 or 5 different ones have gone out. You can subscribe to that through the Twitter profile. It goes out through review. So it's tied to the Goanna the Goanna Twitter profile. So that's another really great way for people to kind of keep up with what's happening. So jump on there and subscribe to that. And now I'm happy to kind of open up the floor if people want to jump up, ask questions, talk about different things. I'm just scrolling through. There's quite a lot of you here. This is a really great turnout. So this is awesome to see. Thank you, everyone, to jump in. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, just raise your hand and I'll invite you to come up and speak. And we can just do kind of a little impromptu AMA. Then this is the part where no one wants to speak, and then I'm left up here, like just kind of rambling, having to fill the dead space. If you don't want to speak as well, you can also add comments. Where have I gone? Okay. All right, got a request. We've got Dylan Algo. He's coming up. Okay, Dylan, you should be able to speak. Oh, are you there, Dylan?
Hey, Benji, how's it going?
Good, mate. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, so congrats on the drop. I don't think anyone was really super surprised at the demand, but congratulations. Really impressed with some of the mega art, especially the mega zombie art. Kind of blew me away. So awesome. One question I did have though was about shuffle. So, during the mint, there was a couple of hiccups. Timers. I assume that like it was. I'm assuming on the back end it all worked out from your point of view because like everything was getting claimed as quickly as physically possible, but there were a ton of people who clicked like instantly that, were apparently clicking for the same thing someone else got. So it was just like bashing your head against the wall. So I'm wondering if there's any way to sort that out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the demand was insane. I think literally there was about 1,500 or something available in that public drop through Shuffle, and they were literally all allocated almost instantly. We definitely learned some stuff through the process. Some of it would have been like super simple fixes, and we will be updating that as we move forward for other drops that will happen through Shuffle. I think one of the issues that led to a lot of people thinking that the site had like fallen over or there was a problem was that, there was, like you say, there was multiple people trying to sign for the same asset. And basically when two people signed for it, the first one to sign would get it, and the other person, it wouldn't go through. And that caused an error, and that displayed on the front end, and it just said internal server error because it couldn't process the transaction. It didn't actually mean that the site wasn't working or something. It just meant that two people were trying to claim the same asset at the same time. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. So yeah, I totally get there was some people who were frustrated because they missed out. From my point of view, we were happy to see that there was a really solid distribution through that. All of the NFTs went out. Everyone who paid received an NFT. Most people only received one, so it was a nice even distribution. So in that sense, it was a really big success. But yeah, definitely things that we can learn from and improve. We will be releasing the poly Goannas through Shuffle, although that will be a slightly different process because that's going to be strictly people who are whitelisted and gold listed. So it will be a different experience. But yeah, it's definitely stuff that feedback that we can take on board and continue to learn from as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the site certainly was overwhelmed, but that's easy to kind of tailor and ramp up in the back end. My concern was that the amount remaining went from 400 to 0 to 300 to 0 to it was getting frigged. So I'm sure there's an easier way to smooth that out. Maybe a lottery system You know, you get in a queue, the first 1,500 people that got in that queue get an opportunity, just like they do with concert tickets. You know, like there's got to be a way to make it really feel good so that people aren't like screaming at the top of their lungs, you know, smashing their screens and shit.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a lot of room to innovate with how we do handle drops, and it's kind of when you look back how it all started with the very early shuffles that you know, when we were doing the Goanna drops last year with the V1 series, we were running them with Kraken, and it was literally like, you know, there was people would sign up through Discord, and then all of those addresses would be pulled off Discord and literally like run an RNG process. Right, these are the people who've been successful, and then they can go and claim. So I think there's definitely ways that we could improve that kind of shuffle experience for users. But then, like the other side of it, I was chatting to some people, and you know, if you take that away and you improve the UX too much, you lose the chaos and you lose the excitement. So it's definitely a balance there. But I think you're right. I mean, I guess we're in a fortunate position. It's not like we're on, you know, Ethereum where you're seeing like gas wars or people are spending, you know, significant sums and not actually able to mint. That is one of the real big plus points that we see here on Algorand, and obviously the speed of the transactions as well. But yeah, definitely scope that how shuffles are handled more broadly can be improved. I think however it's done, there's always a danger of like, you know, people are going to try and game it and bot it, and that's definitely poses challenges as well. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you've got ideas around that or anyone else, then there is a suggestions channel on the Shuffle Discord. Feel free to jump in there, and we're the Shuffle team are always super open to taking on feedback. I know that the boys working on the site they're really excited. Now we've kind of got the Goanna drops out of the way. They're able to kind of focus on the shuffle side a lot more and kind of ramp up development. They've got a lot of really exciting plans for what we want to build out there, and some new features that we're going to keep allowing us to iterate and improve the platform offering. So yeah, please jump in and add your suggestions there. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Dylan?
No, I think you guys are certainly adding value to the Algorand ecosystem, so I'm all for that. I mean, I'm definitely going to criticize art like the best of them, but you know, at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. You know, like growing the ecosystem, we're all here for it. So nice work, congrats.
Thanks, mate. Okay, cool. Is there anyone else who wants to come up and has anything they want to jump in and say?
While we're waiting, Benji, I just wanted to reiterate your point. I agree. That was the chaos of a drop is part of the fun, and that was heaps of chaos in that drop, and I just enjoyed the experience being on the Goanna Discord server and seeing the chaos unfold, heart racing. Yeah, you can't get rid of that chaos. That's part of the fun of a drop.
Yeah, I'm glad it was fun for you. I don't know, sitting on the other side, it was pretty intense. But no, I mean, like the outcome is what was important, and it was super happy with that. And again, like, you know, really proud of what Green and Slurp, the developers on Shuffle, have built, and what they're continuing to do. So yeah, big shout out to those guys as well. Alrighty. Has anyone else got questions, stuff they want to ask? Feel free to stick your hand up. I'll invite you up to speak. I don't know if there's anything happening through the Discord. I'm gonna have a quick look while we're talking.
I'll just jump in quickly, Benji. I'm just seeing quite a bit of action on the gold list game. There's 36 players on at the moment. Some good ideas coming through already. So still a pretty good chance to snag a gold list spot for the Polygoanna drop if you jump into the game now. But thanks for those who joined, and I think the link's in the Discord if you want it.
Awesome, thank you, Mars. That's awesome. It's exciting to see that taking place. I'm going to jump in and have a bit of a look after this as well. I don't know while we're waiting if anyone else wanted to speak, but I guess there's a few things that people can be mindful of. Rarity on the NFTs is still changing and updating. As we see more of the collection kind of being minted and claimed, that will change. But like now we've got a bigger chunk, the majority of it minted. The changes are going to be less significant, I suppose. But I think that was something that maybe caught a few people out during the drop, and certainly that initial phase. We tried to put some announcements out around that just to kind of educate everyone and make people aware. But that was, I think it was cool to see a use case for ARC19 that allowed, all the assets were pre-minted, and then as you claim them, the image and the metadata is kind of pushed live as part of that claim process. And then kind of that reveals the image, which I think was exciting, because I know there's always been a bit of friction and people have had difficulties in terms of, when a shuffle's gone live in the past, you could kind of game it, you could find the asset ID, you could look it up, and you'd also almost kind of know what you were going to get. But in this case, it definitely helped. The other thing to mention is the claim period for all of the free mints, so the bites, the pineapples, the eggs, that opened on Saturday afternoon in the US. At the moment, we've got no plans to close that. So the claim period is going to remain open for the foreseeable future. I think there's definitely been quite a bit of stuff which was claimed. There was an initial burst of activity. I know there's a lot of the egg holders, for example, have been waiting quite a long time. So that's going to remain open. We've got no plans to close that. So I think that's going to play into some interesting game theory around what people want to do if they want to hold their assets and that type of thing. It does mean that there's a reasonable portion of that 5,555 pieces in the collection, which are technically kind of held sort of in limbo until they're claimed, because we had to produce a derivative of the 489 original Goannas, both as a mutant and a zombie. So that's nearly 1,000 pieces that we had to make. And a lot of those may or may not ever be claimed as well, which is quite interesting. No. Sorry, I thought someone had commented in the chat for this, but that's not to see. All right, so everyone's pretty quiet today. I was kind of expecting for an AMA that we might have had a few more questions. Perhaps one thing we can look to do to improve this ahead of next week's, and also to make it a bit easier for people who can't necessarily jump on at the time, is we'll set up a channel over on the Discord specific for this kind of weekly Twitter space. We can use that to share links to the recording. Maybe you can share the notes from the things that were discussed, but we can also so you can add in questions. So if there's stuff that you want to ask, you don't necessarily have to jump up in live time, and I can just work through those as well. But yeah, that's kind of it for me.
I got a question for you, Benji.
Okay, go from there.
No, you mentioned that the collection was a derivative of the original. I'm interested to hear a bit about that design process, how that went, how long did it take, what was the process there to designing the mutants and zombies?
So it was a long process, is the short answer, the TLDR. Basically, basing it off the original collection definitely posed challenges, because the V1 collection wasn't technically a generative series. There was a whole series of traits, and we continued to create new traits as they were released through that drop period last year. But that did mean, because they were all manually assembled, that we could do things that wouldn't necessarily be possible with a true generative series. So there's a lot of stuff that If you try and put it together on the same NFT, like the layering's not going to work. It's gonna clash. We can manually flip like layer orders around and that type of thing. So that definitely posed some problems, because what we wanted to do with the mutants and the zombies is we wanted people who had an original one to be able to produce a corresponding one where those traits carried over. So we kind of started late January. It was a little bit of a slow start. We had February, kind of the region that I'm based in here in Australia, we had like pretty significant flooding. And then I went through COVID. So I had this double whammy, like end of Feb. So that definitely slowed things up a bit. But we've kind of been working on it, solidly for over 6 months. And I guess the V1 was basically like the inspiration. So it was looking at the original traits. And it was like, okay, how can we produce an interesting, or like, how can we mutate this and bring it to life? How can we change it? So that was kind of like the starting point. I think during that time period where I was doing the research, if you looked at my Google search history, you'd have been like, this dude is freaking nuts, because you ended up just like searching the weirdest stuff, from like cyber rave outfits to horror gore movies to like God knows what. But like that's kind of like where the inspiration came from. And then obviously like there was an extended period where the illustrators were putting together all the different traits, and once we kind of had everything, or we felt we had enough, we started to look to build. And I'll be honest, like this is actually where a big part of the delays towards the end in terms of getting the collection out and actually kind of shipping it, that's where that came from. And that was my fault, 100% on me, in terms of underestimating the time it took, like to create the derivatives. Obviously, like we had to manually build out like the 489 mutants, the 489 zombies. I think we did it once almost completely for the zombies, and kind of looked at it and went, you know what, actually these aren't good enough, and went back, updated a lot of the traits, had all the hair redone, all the clothes were like re-outlined, and just made like a decent improvement. And then also as you kind of go through that process, you're like, oh, actually like we need some more stuff here, and just actually like manually building them out, and then kind of compiling the metadata for those and tweaking it like that in itself was probably like a good 2 weeks for the zombies, and the similar time for the mutants. And then in terms of the generation or the generative side, how most projects would work is they get all their traits, they export them all individually, they put them into a script. I use the Hashlips generator. If anyone, I've used a few, and I have to say that's the best one. I found it was super user friendly and really good. So I definitely recommend that to any artists exploring how to kind of get into generative art. There's also some really good documentation and a Discord that's super helpful as well. So just Google Hashlips. But yeah, like normally you just kind of run like one script, right? And you run it, you output all your stuff. Because we built everything in such a complicated way, it was almost like you'd have had to write this huge code to try and say, okay, like for these skins you can only use these mouths, for these mouths you can only use like these, you can't have this mouth, can't be smoking, all of that kind of side of it. So we ended up, that in itself again was probably like a month-long process. I'm actually interested, I wouldn't mind running the numbers, but to give you a rough idea, for the green scaly mutants, I know I ran over maybe 30 plus batches of generations with like different trait combinations. So I'd run a batch, maybe say it would be 100, 150, and then I'd go through that and I'd grab out like the best ones, or the ones where it worked, and I'd delete out the ones that didn't. And that kind of slowly was how we built out the series. So that process, again, probably like a month's worth of work there or more, just kind of running like the generation stuff. And that's something that a lot of other projects would do in like a day. So yeah, huge volume of work. But yeah, just stoked to get it over the line and finally see it come to life and get it out there. I know there's lots of people have got opinions about like different stuff and how it's done, and I think if I did it again, having gone through the process, there's definitely stuff I do differently, but on the whole, I'm super happy with it, with how it's all turned out.
Yeah, for sure. It's super impressive collection, and yeah, that sounds like an intense process. I know. Yeah, we've been going through a similar trial and error experience with the polygoannas, and it's a lot of work. So props to the team, and yeah, that's it's great to hear a bit of how it sort of rolled out and the love, sweat, and tears you put into it. So yeah, thanks for your efforts, Benji. We're super happy with these.
Oh, thank you, mate. Cool. Alrighty. So last call for questions if anyone wants to jump up and say anything. Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up here, and depending on where you are, we'll let you go back to enjoying your Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. It's Monday morning here in Australia, so it's a nice way for me to kick off the week. But yeah, alrighty. I think that's about it. We will these spaces will be recorded as well, and we'll share the links, and that'll mean that you don't have to tune in every week at the specific time. But I mean, that was one of the big